Hello, friends, and welcome to Module 2. In this module, we are going to be talking about a new paradigm, a new perspective for what mental health really means to us. And we're going to talk about what years of studies on the mind-body connection has come to uncover and why this shift in perspective, why this new paradigm is so crucial for your healing. So I want you to think on this question for a moment. What if all we've been told and taught about anxiety wasn't completely true? So if we think of what we most often are taught is that anxiety is a condition of the mind. And for myself, I was under the impression that when I was diagnosed with anxiety, that meant I had a chemical imbalance within the brain. And ultimately, it left me feeling like there was nothing I could do about it because of it being a chemical imbalance. And it honestly felt like a life sentence. And then I want you to also think on what if the majority of mental illnesses were not actually due to an imbalance within the brain, but were a result of dysregulation within the nervous system. So in other words, what if the majority of mental health issues and anxiety wasn't this chemical imbalance? It had nothing to do with our mindset or our mental state, but it was more so about the state of our body, about the state and health of our nervous system. So if you flip-flop that, the focus, how it's been for the longest time on mental health, was actually not where we needed to be putting our focus. And so the world is in such desperate need right now of a paradigm shift. And this shift in perspective starts right here with you. Today, moving forward, I invite you to look at anxiety in a new light, through a new lens. And this lens that we're going to be covering over the weeks and the modules is coming from a trauma-informed lens. And so I want to start off by just setting the tone for you in this module about this new perspective that we are striving for and that the world is in need of. So we're going to talk about approaches to emotional well-being. And there are two main approaches, and you may or may not have heard of them, but they are the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach. Top-down approach prioritizes our thoughts over our senses. And this is what is most commonly used when it comes to the treatment of mental health disorders or treatment of anxiety. However, the bottom-up approach prioritizes your senses over your thoughts. And this is where that shift in perspective, this new paradigm, is really coming into play here. As we first mentioned, what if, after all these years of suffering with anxiety and feeling like there was nothing you could do about it, there was a way for you to heal yourself, but it wasn't through the mind, it was actually through the body. And so to give you some examples here of what each approach means and what some practices look like. The top-down approach is what you would consider your talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, journaling, affirmations, and even sometimes meditation. Now, these are all so powerful as far as practices for the emotional well-being for each of us. And I do practice many of these, especially the journaling and affirmations. However, I don't prioritize them any longer. And this is where, for myself, I was stuck for many years trying to figure out how to heal my anxiety because my focus was primarily on this top-down approach. Now, the bottom-up approach incorporates yoga, breath work, somatic therapy, the polyvagal theory, which is going to be one of our modules coming up, and also play. Just simple flow, ease, and play. So right away, you might be able to see a connection here, whereas the practices for top down, they incorporate a lot of thought work. There's a lot of time spent within your mind. And as we look at the practices for the bottom up method, these practices incorporate a lot of body awareness, a lot of time being spent within your senses. Now, if we take a look at what years of research has come to show us is 80% of our sensory information we receive is transmitted from the body to the brain, and only 20% travels from the brain to the body. That is a massive difference right there. So why on earth would we want to prioritize a top-down approach when only 20% is traveling from our brain to the body? That bottom-up approach to emotional well-being is so crucial if we want to heal for good. So why do so many individuals continue to struggle with healing anxiety since we have this information? It's because understanding is simply not enough. Having that top-down approach, we're focusing so much on understanding our troubles and problems, understanding how to control our anxiety through thought, through mindset shifts. And again, yes, this is all powerful and effective practices if we first approach it from that bottom-up method. So embodiment is crucial for building greater sense of safety within the nervous system. And why safety is so important is because our nervous system is constantly working and searching for cues of safety and danger throughout our environment at all times. And if 80% of the messages are coming from our body to the brain, then we have to incorporate our body work into the practice of healing from anxiety. So understanding what to do is not enough. To embody means to put your knowledge into practice at a somatic level. The somatic level is at the body level. Our nervous system is the control center, specifically the autonomic nervous system, which is where we are picking up on these cues of safety or danger. It means to create a daily practice that will allow your nervous system to create new pathways. We have the ability to learn new things. We have the ability to rewire our pathways. And healing is about showing and teaching your nervous system that it is safe. So we have to embody what we know. We have to put it into practice at the somatic level in order to create these new pathways where our nervous system can finally recognize what it is and what it feels like to be safe. I like to call this practice our emotional hygiene routine. And it's just like brushing your teeth. Just as brushing your teeth or showering is a daily routine for caring for your teeth or for your body, the emotional hygiene routine that you're going to have is doing the same thing for your mental well-being. It is not a one and done practice. Unfortunately, we love to have quick fixes. I understand. I am there too. But just as brushing your teeth and showering probably wasn't your favorite thing when you were younger, with practice, it became second nature. And so now the goal is to create our own emotional hygiene routine that we practice on a daily basis. So this is why a bottom-up approach must be prioritized to address anxiety at the root level. Because again, 80% of our sensory information, of the information that our nervous system takes in on whether there's safety or danger, is coming from the body to the brain. Then the brain makes sense of it. So the root here is at that body level. This is where true healing of anxiety can begin. So your action step is going to be to choose 1 or 2 practices from the downloadable worksheet I provided you. And I want to invite you to set an intention to implement these practices, or just the one, each day for the next week. Now you have quite a few practices to choose from, so maybe it might feel better for you to choose one each day and try it out to see how it feels. This is something that's going to take a little bit of experimenting, but I want you to just start to create a daily practice of incorporating this bottom-up approach, incorporating greater body awareness and incorporating your senses. So do what feels good for you. Choose whatever practice seems like it will be most suited for you, and simply show up for yourself every day with the intention of doing a little bit of this bottom-up practice. That's it for today's module. I'll see you in the next one.